I'm gonna introduce our panelists today. So I've got 4 panelists today, 3 from Norway and 1 from France. So what I propose is that I will give the floor to each of them in a logic or in a path where we go from financing low TRL to higher TRLs. So the first panelist I want to introduce is Kjell. I'm not going to take the risk to pronounce his surname, so sorry, I'll stay with the first name. So Kjell has a master's degree in computer science, and he worked at the Christian Michelsen Research in Bergen. And in 2012, he joined the Research Council of Norway, where he works in particular for the maritime research, in the MAROF program, that is, I believe, dedicated to maritime activities. And I've been told that you also help to define the Maritime 21 strategy. So, Kjell, please let us know a bit more about the Research Council of Norway and the link with the maritime activities. You're on mute, Kjell. You're just on mute. We have a minor technical issue here. So if we do not get... Okay.
Can you hear me now? I just pushed the wrong button.
Yes, great, great.
I had to be called instead of unmuting. Okay, can everyone hear me now? Okay, very good. Yes. Thank you very much, Philippe, for the invitation, and it's very nice to be speaking to this French-Norwegian e-forum today. As you said, I'm from the Research Council of Norway, and the Research Council, this is it's maybe unlike in other countries. We contribute, we serve all research purposes, so to speak, in Norway. As we rephrase it with from the Lord of the Rings, it's the one research council to rule them all. First slide, please. Yes, so we cover all subjects and disciplines, and we also all thematics areas, and we serve all the research, both from basic research to research-based innovation. We have open arenas, we have thematic small arenas, we have small projects, and we also have large projects like the research centers and Center for Innovation, Center for Excellence, which have up to several 100 million kroner in funding. So we cover it all. Next slide, please. And the Research Council also funds 1/3 of the public investment in research and development and innovation in Norway. And you can see we serve all the 3 sectors, research sectors, both from the higher education, research organizations, and also the industry. And the rest is then funded by mostly the Ministry of Education and Research, but also then the other ministries. Next slide, please. I then work, as you said, in the MAROF. Previous one, please. This one. Yeah, that's correct. Thank you. I also work as in the MAROF program, which is the Maritime Research Program at the Research Council. And the budget, and this is called the innovation program in the Research Council, and we all our funding goes to projects where industry is involved, and either we have these what we call the innovation projects, where the industries itself apply for funding, but they can bring along the research institutions and the research and the universities and so on. But the other type of project that we fund is what we also call the knowledge building projects, which is then is applied for and governed by the research institutions and research organizations. But the industry has to be part of these projects as well. So the industry is always part of the project that we fund in the MORAF program. And the budget for the 2020 is around 170 million kroners. And about two of them, the projects go to the projects that directly support the industry. We also have many other programs in Norway. It's also covering the oceans industry. We have separate programs that cover for aquaculture. We have other programs that cover marine research, which include fisheries and also how to rule the oceans. And we have also done project for which covers then offshore, let's say offshore renewable energy, like offshore wind, and also for offshore oil and gas. So we have several research programs in Norway that covers the different ocean industries, and the one that I'm working for is for the maritime industries. It covers everything that has to be with using vessels in some kind of way. But it is also, as I said here, possible for other foreign research organizations or companies to participate in these type of projects that is mentioned here. The foreign research organization, let's say, such as French research institutes and so forth, may be also funded by Norway and the Research Council in some kind of these kind of projects, if they are invited to the project by the Norwegian participants. But also foreign companies may participate in this project, but they may not be funded. Next slide, please. We have, as you can see from this slide here, a very broad type of priorities in the MORAF program. The first one here, what is called opportunities in ocean industries, is about to support the maritime activities and new ocean industries such as offshore wind, offshore agriculture, and so forth. Autonomy, okay, that's, you know what that is. Digital transformation is just it's the transformation both on the, let's say, the shipbuilding industry, but also in the industries that has to, on the vessels, making the digitalization on board of the vessels, and making the, let's say, things like digital twins and so forth. Promoting greener activities is to make the whole maritime industries more green. This includes also using new renewable fuels and batteries, hydrogen, and so forth, and also to make the vessels more energy efficient, and also to then reduce emissions from exhaust or from ballast or clean ballast water and so forth. Arctic and northern areas, the priority is to handle the specific challenges up in the north, like icing, darkness, long distance, and so on. And security is the last of the thematic priorities. From what we see when we receive these applications, we see that most of the applications are at either the digital domain, let's say for autonomous remote control vessel, the digital transformation, but also very many applications we receive in the green maritime activities. Next slide, please. The Research Council has also a role in the new do you call the Horizon Europe. And if you maybe have and then last week it was finally decided that Norway to join this Horizon Europe. And there are 3 pillars for those. I don't want to go deeply into this, but there are 3 pillars. And the second pillar, the global challenges, under then what is called the climate, energy, and mobility cluster. There you can find the maritime transport, which is then related to the activities we do in Norway in Maritime. And next slide, please. And in the maritime transport, you can see that the priorities here and the topics are very much similar to the one that we have in the MAROF program. We have zero emission, of course. We have automated, connected waterborne transport, let's say autonomous vessels and so on. But this is the competitive over waterborne transports. So we have in our department now we have also the national contact point for transport and mobility, Verena Hartmann. You also can then, if you have questions about our joining projects here, you can help with us. And we also then support establishing projects and a consortia within this Horizon Europe with money from the Research Council. Thank you. I think that was for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair, for your nice presentation. Just one small question before we will move on to Ingvild. Is there any specific TRL where you stop financing with the Research Council of Norway, or you go from really low TRL to a highest one?
The rates are very floating. The limit is kind of floating. We have actually in the MAROF program, we can also support the demonstration activities. And there will be a specific call to support the demonstration activities within maritime industries. It has been that in the oil and gas industries for many years. So, but I will say it must be some kind of research part in the project, either with the basic research, industrial research, or experimental development, for those who know these terms. So, yeah.
Okay, so R&D has to be involved. Yes.
Yeah.
So I get your point that you can get, Research Council of Norway can offer some collaboration, at least for academics, and they can be funded. And for industrial partners, it's a bit more difficult, but we will try to see if we can find some solution for that. Thank you very much, Chair. I will give the floor to my next speaker, which is Ingvild, that I had the chance to meet in different other discussion, especially on the Green Deal. I can see Ingrid. It's supposed to be Ingvild, not Ingrid, but I don't know if you want to do it this way. Please, I ask all my technicals behind me that they can change. So, yes, here is Ingvild, who is a senior EU advisor working at Innovation Norway. And she also NCP, a national contact point. So you're based in Bergen, and you worked with European financing since 2015, and you have a broad international background in the financial sector. So please enlighten us, Ingvild, regarding some European opportunities, because that's probably the main or the easiest. Never say that it's too easy to get some European money, but it's the easiest way to make French and Norwegian working together. Ingvild, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Philippe. As you said, it's never easy, but good things never are easy. So Definitely worth trying. For the right projects, worth trying for EU funding. Thank you so much for inviting me back. I've been part of this French-Norwegian Chamber of Commerce events last year as well in Toulouse, and found that excellent event. So I'm very glad that I can be back here. Unfortunately, this time in a digital format. Let's hope that we soon can be back in a physical meeting. Anyways, today I'm here to speak about EU funding, as Philippe has mentioned, but I also want to talk about Innovation Norway's national funding, as I see that relevant for this setting as well. And as Mr. Rousseau said so, previous slide, please. Mr. Rousseau said so nicely in his introduction that ocean is the key to our ecosystem. And I've included here the new EU target to achieve 50 to 55% greenhouse gas emission by 2030, and how the maritime sector can really contribute to making this happen. So this is one of the key priorities for the EU, and also something that Innovation Norway is striving to. But I do want to emphasize that Innovation Norway covers all sectors and are industry agnostic as such. Next slide, please. So shortly to introduce Innovation Norway to our friends in France and to those in Norway who don't know us so well. Innovation Norway is the Norwegian government's most important instrument for innovation and development of Norwegian industry and enterprises. We contribute to this through expertise and capital. We also contribute to several networks. So briefly here on expertise, I want to emphasize the meaning and importance of our offices abroad. We have offices in 30 countries around the world, where 12 of them are located in Europe. And our office in Paris is one of the key partners in making this Norwegian-French e-forum a reality. So thank you to my colleagues there. We also see that they are key enablers to connecting French and Norwegian partners. Innovation Norway is also a partner in the Enterprise Europe Network Partnership and contribute to financing over 40 industrial clusters in Norway. We have capital to contribute to maritime projects in the sense of grants and loans. And although our capital we can only fund Norwegian companies, we do, of course, open our subcontractors and to France, to French partners. So this is definitely an opportunity that we see quite often, but would like to see more of. Because we do encourage our Norwegian companies to start thinking international early, and having international subcontractors is one way of getting that foot in the door at an early stage. Next slide, please. This is a picture I want to show you of the Horizon Europe program. As Kjell has very well explained already, the climate, energy and mobility cluster is of the most importance to the audience here today. I do also want to emphasize that there are 3 missions that will also support this particular sector, and that is the climate change mission, healthy oceans, seas, coastal and inland waters, and the 3rd, climate neutral and smart cities. The ocean and the maritime sector will have a key role in making this happen. And I also want to emphasize that all of the European or the framework program Horizon Europe is founded on the UN Sustainable Development Goals, so that all levels of kind of climate change goals are aligned and working together to achieving this massive target of reducing the greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. But I also want to emphasize the European Green Deal, which I think is just as important for the maritime sector to be aware of as the framework program. As also been mentioned here earlier today, in order to make the most out of these opportunities that presented in the ocean, under the ocean and on top of the ocean, we need to give certainty to our investors so that they see it's worth investing in new climate-friendly solutions. And the European Green Deal is doing just that. There are policies and regulations following, and the introduction of the climate law that's currently being developed will certainly emphasize the importance of developing these solutions and implementing them into the market and into the public sector swiftly. So we see this as a huge support to achieving the goals, and we're eager to see this unfold in the next 10 years. And I also want to say that the European Green Deal is ambitious by having a target of becoming climate neutral by 2050. But the opportunity here is obviously to turn the challenge into opportunities for companies in Europe, and turning this into our competitive edge. So really eager to see projects from Norway and France enter into this and becoming a success. Philippe, you did say that it's challenging, and I just want to mention the EIC Accelerator, which is an open program for small, medium-sized companies. This is a completely bottom-up program. This has been a challenge to get through, but we see now that there are actions being taken in the EU in order to make it easier for the best projects to make it through the gateways quicker, so that we can get these solutions onto the market as quickly as possible. Next slide, please. Here I want to give you an example of how also the Innovation Norway, the Research Council, and Enova look to financing projects that align with EU goals. This is a scheme called the Pilot E scheme, which is targeted to maritime transport and climate neutral industry. It was awarded 2 million euros in 2014 and has since then been lifted into the Horizon Europe program, where they then were awarded 11 million euros to pilot and demonstrate and put it into use within the next couple of years. You see some of the key partners here. There were no French partners at this particular project, but I do know in some of the other urban or maritime projects, there has been French collaboration. Great. Next slide, please. Just lastly, I would like to introduce you to my colleagues. Innovation Norway has EU advisors across the country, all eager to help local companies in achieving the goals or achieving financing in Horizon Europe. So please reach out to them. If you can't reach them, please reach me. I also like to encourage you to get to know our colleagues in the Paris office and see how they can contribute to facilitating contact between Norway and France. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ingvild, for this presentation. Yes, I believe that Ellie is based in Paris from Innovation Norway, and she will attend and participate to, I think, tomorrow to this e-forum. I get your point of we can get French people or French companies be subcontracted in different projects, and I guess it would be the same for Norwegian project, for Norwegian company, sorry, in French project. Just one quick question. You talk about the Green Deal. We maybe not all know, but it's going to be the agenda of the Green Deal is pretty quick. The call is out since early September, and it will end in January. What do you foresee for this short window of opportunity? Or could Innovation Norway help with that?
Yeah, there is one particular call relevant to the audience today, the Green Ports call. It has, as you said, it opened officially now in December, but it has already been in draft format since May. So many consortia have already been working through the summer to hustle together to find their partners. And the key priorities here have been to find a main port, a lighthouse port, and 2 to 3 follower ports. So I can tell you now there is a consortia forming in Norway, and they've just let me know that they're missing a follower port. So if we have any French follower ports out there that would be interested in joining a Norwegian lighthouse project, I can help to facilitate that contact. As for the window, it is narrowing, but there is always an opportunity for SMEs. We need to fill more of our consortiums with SMEs. So then I'd really encourage you to reach out to your network, being maybe Philippe. You can help also with some of the French connections here. Yeah, because this is really a network thing. You have to find out who's actually going for this, because some of them will be quite advanced, but there's still a window. So I encourage you to follow it through. We didn't speak about the funding rates, but that's obviously the interesting thing with EU financing, that 70% that the industry can get is much higher than what you could get in the national funding schemes. So very attractive. The other thing is the Green Deal is also looking for those quick demonstration projects that can have a huge and big impact quickly. So the budgets are much higher. So for this particular Green Ports call, we're looking at a budget of 25 million euros for the call that will run for 4 to 5 years.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much, Ingvild. So to the audience, to the SMEs that are involved in services, products, or technologies that could be that could make the ports greener, there is a shot here to get. So please either contact me or Ingvild directly, but I will be happy to do this for you. So our next speaker would be Ingrid. Ingrid, I've been a senior advisor at Enova since 2015, and I believe, Ingrid, you're responsible for the maritime transport sector. Before joining Enova, you worked as a project manager for Siemens Shipping Department in Trondheim for the delivery project of battery installation in vessels. So Ingrid, you're going to talk a bit more about Enova and what you can bring on the table in terms of financing maritime activities.
Yes, thank you for your introduction, Philippe, and thank you for the opportunity to join this event. So if you could just bring up the slides. I will start with saying some words about Enova and how we work before I will give you some examples of projects that we have supported. So next slide, please. Enova is a public agency owned by the Norwegian Ministry of Climate and Environment. We are about 80 employees, and we are all located in the building you can see in this picture here in Trondheim. Enova has 3 main areas of focus, and that is to promote reduced greenhouse gas emissions, contribute to development of energy and climate technology, and an increased security of supply through more efficient use of power and energy. Enova is working within all sectors, and we have an annual budget of approximately 3,000 million NOK, or 300 million euros. We do co-funding of approximately 1,500 projects annually. Next. So why are we so interested in zero-emission ships? The transport sector accounts for 30% of the greenhouse gas emissions in Norway and dominates the part of our emissions that are not covered by the EU's quota market. The maritime sector accounts for just less than 7%. The objective of a low-emission society in 2050 means that the transport sector must be developed in the direction of zero emissions, and technology development in maritime transport represent opportunities for value creation in Norway. The maritime industry is among Norway's core competencies, as we have one of the world's largest fleets. Norway has a significant value creation throughout the whole value chain, including researchers, suppliers, yards, and ship owners. Thus, there is a potential to develop and commercialize solutions that can both reduce greenhouse gas emissions in Norway and build an export market and sell these technologies to other countries. Next. So how does Enova contribute? Enova will stimulate to continued technology and market development of energy and climate efficient technologies. We believe that higher market volume will contribute to building up the supply side of the market, provide a basis for further development and strengthen competitiveness. Within the maritime part of the sector, we experience the battery technology becoming more competitive in relevant vessel groups, and Enova prioritized projects that implement batteries in all kinds of vessels, as we think that this technology will become one of the solutions in the low-carbon society. Supporting technology development also includes technology that enables alternative fuels. It is not one or the other. We need to support both energy efficient measures and transition to alternative low-carbon fuels. Another example where Enova contributes is within testing and demonstration of autonomous concepts. This technology will cause more cost-effective solutions and hopefully contribute to shift more of the transported goods from land to sea. Enova will also contribute to establishing onshore power in all major harbors and will assess the need of supported charging infrastructure as more and more vessels adopt battery solutions. We work continuously to adjust our strategies and services, but we obviously also encourage all industry to exploit the instruments already in place. The varied support schemes offered by Enova provide ample opportunities for Norwegian companies that want to take action. Enova mainly support the end users, or here the ship owners, that will invest in these green solutions. Our main instrument is grants, but we also can contribute with loan. For developing new technology, we can also support the suppliers, but not without bringing on board the end user, ensuring that the technology will be used by completion of the project. We support Norwegian companies, but the ship owners may decide if they use Norwegian or foreign suppliers. Next slide. Okay, so then I'll leave you with a couple of examples of vessels that we have supported. The vessel you see in this picture is a tourist vessel named Future of the Fjords, taking 400 passengers. It's fully electric and a big and important leap forward in the ongoing maritime battery revolution. This project is an example of the pilot E that Ingvild was talking about earlier. The Pure Nature experience is one of Norway's biggest unique selling points as a tourist destination. To have a sustainable tourist industry, initiatives like Future of the Fjords are crucial. This vessel gives you a unique contact with nature, and with zero emission operation, this is indeed a solution for the future. We believe that this vessel will help inspire the cruise industry to adopt battery power vessels faster, both in Norway and abroad. Future of the Fjords can sail fully electric for 2.5 hours in 16 knots and recharge in only 20 minutes. Next slide, please. The way the vessel charges must be maybe just as important and innovative as the vessel itself. Future of the Fjords must be supplied with a large amount of power in relatively short period of time. And this fjord is really a remote one. To upgrade the power grid in the villages where it recharges in order to accommodate simultaneously loading with this and its sister ship Vision of the Fjords would be. The power battery for intermediate storage of power, but slow the power grid. This rapid charging of the vessel doesn't put unnecessary pressure on the power grid. When the transport sector is to be electrified, it's important to consider how the load can be reduced to reduce the need of expensive upgrades of the power grid. Both ferries, tourist vessels, and other vessels have a great need for such solutions, where it will be charged, where it will be charged in a short period of time. This solution, therefore, has a large potential and will be important for further electrification of both passenger transport and other types of transports. This power dock has 2.4 megawatt-hour battery installed. Now we can have the next slide. Next slide, thank you. This is one of the world's largest construction vessels, the North Sea Giant. She has a 2.1 megawatt-hour battery installed. This installation is important to show that also a vessel with an extreme demand of power supply and safety operations, battery can play an important role. North Sea Giant will reduce the vessel annual fuel consumption by 2 million liters. Experience from projects like this show that you can have more benefits from reduced fuel consumption. When building new ships, these can be built with 1 or even 2 engines less than today's design, as the batteries can function as spinning reserve. Next slide. So this is the last example to show you from sea cargo. Deep sea shipping is one of the unsolved climate challenges. It's hard to picture vessels of this size going far emission-free without significantly increased energy-efficient solutions. Rotor sails might be one of the solutions. With support from Enova, Sea Cargo are now installing innovative rotor sails on their freight vessel SC Connector. These sails are 35 meters tall, and as you can see, they can be lowered when needed, for instance, when going under bridges. Compared to regular sails of the same size, rotor sails are a lot more efficient. With optimal wind conditions, this ship can run on sails alone. And combined with batteries, rotor sail can make emission-free freight vessels possible within a few years. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ingrid, for this presentation. Before we go to the next speaker, I've got a small question for you. Like it was really related to shipbuilding. Is there any other maritime sector you want to promote? And if yes, is there any possible international synergies or collaboration with French partners?
I think there are mainly two areas where we see a lot of activity, and it's aquaculture, which is very important for Norway. It's a large activity, and they build a lot of vessels. And also for goods, we have an old fleet that we need to change these days. So we will see a lot of new buildings, I think. And whenever we need new ships, there is, of course, an opportunity for also foreign countries to join us with the technology. And on the suppliers' side, it might be possible to cooperate and have good projects together.
Thank you very much. I think tomorrow there will be a 2 round table around green ship and smart ship, where both Norwegian and French company will be able to showcase their products and services. So thank you very much, Ingrid. I'm gonna give the floor to our next speaker, who is the only French with me. And I'm not alone, because he's on my left side here in Paris, who is Anthony. Anthony is an engineer in the field of transport and energy. That's his background, and he worked as in the R&D department in the automotive sector for a few years, and then worked as a consultant in the field of financing innovation. So that's make the perfect fit for him to join since 4 years the ADEME, the French National Agency for Energy Transition, and where he works on projects regarding mobility and sustainable cities. So Anthony will explain to you, the audience, how complex probably the financing on the French side is, and he'll give you a good view and a good overview of the different entities and bodies that could help in terms of financing maritime innovation. Anthony, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the invitation. We can begin with the first slide, if it's okay. Thank you. Just for people who don't know France very well, an overview of what we have in France. We have the strategic side, the strategic level with the ministries, and we find the economic ministries, the ministry in charge of ecological transition, and the ministry in charge of research and innovation. And then we have what we call the operators, that are the agency or public bank, or la Caisse des Dépôts, which is something that does many things, that operates the decision of the ministries. We find what we call the facilitators, like the cluster Pôle Mer Atlantique, which help us to stay in contact with the ecosystem and with corporate venture, investment, banking institutions. And all of this does the public funding in France. We have a structure that is quite particular. That is the public-private partnership, which is called the Technological Research Institute and the Ecological Transition Institute, that are financed by public funding and by private companies, and that try to develop specific needs for the private companies with the help of public funding. So this specific institutions are public and private. Maybe I will go deeper in the difference between the agencies later. But to talk more about ADEM, we are indeed the Ecologic Transition Agency, and we have three main targets. We have the targets, the general public, with communication about every of the domain we study at ADEM. That can be energy, air quality, circular economy, waste, soil remediation, transport, and sustainable cities. We have another target, which is the territories. We help cities and territories to adapt the development of the road, the development of the anything you can find to help the ecological transition. We have the last target, which are the public and the private companies, which we can find with public funding. So we have three main activities. We have an activity of expertise in which we follow and lead studies on the private matters of the Ecologic Transition Ministry. We have an activity of financing, and maybe I go deeper in this subject on the next slide. And we have an activity of advisory on public policies and with territories to help them evolve to much ecological solutions. We have three main sites in Paris, Angers, and Nice, and regional branches to get near the territories. If we go to the next slide. Just a small scheme to show you in a short time what we can do. We go from upstream project to downstream projects. To begin with, we have R&D ADEM projects that can be funded by ADEM budget, exclusively ADEM. So we decide ourselves what we can do with this budget, and we help university to define the thesis subjects, and we finance this every year in fundamental R&D. And then we go downstream with the other calls you can see that are inter-ministries calls. It's not ADEM budget, it's a state budget operated by ADEM. BPI France has the same schemes to finance companies. And we have what we call INNOV calls, INNOV, that are calls specific to small and medium-sized enterprise companies. And we have other calls, DETIGA or transport and mobility calls, that are more specific to certain teams. And so we have circular economy, we can have eco-efficiency in the industry, we can have energetic system and sustainable cities. So if we talk more about the maritime sector, we can see that we have projects in transport and mobility, but we have some projects in energetic system, we have some projects in circular economy. We can find maritime in every calls we have today. And to finish, we have ADEM investment that is quite specific, because if on the other calls we finance with subsidies and recoverable advances, ADEM Investissement is more on SPV, donc special purpose vehicle, and try to create some specific entities just to try to demonstrate first of a kind application that is viable economically and technically. So it's for more bigger projects and for more mature projects with a way of financing that is different than the other calls we have. To compare maybe with other things that have been presented before, the idea when we talk about national financing is not to be redundant with European financing schemes, but to go with maybe smaller projects that are maybe with less ambition at first, but just to demonstrate that there is a possibility technically and economically to have something viable. And then maybe on the European level, the idea is to deploy this solution and to reach critical mass.
Okay. Perfect, Anthony. Thank you. From the discussion we had with the other panelists, one question come to my mind. Are Norwegian partners be eligible to be subcontracted in an ADEM project?
We just apply the rules that European Commission ask us to have, and we can have multi-partners projects and European projects. The only things we have is that we mainly have as finance partner French partner or entities from international groups that are based in France. But we can have subcontractors that come from other countries if we can demonstrate that the level of expertise is at such high level that it's necessary to use this partner in order not to just get to the state of art of the technology we develop.
Okay, and if or would you think ADEM would be able to envisage a French-Norwegian or some French-Norwegian R&D project if we can find funding on Norwegian side through the research Norwegian Research Council or Enova, and from the French side, that is something that it could be done?
I think it's one of the priorities of the Ministry of Research and Innovation that wants to create more collaboration between European countries and European companies, and especially in maritime sector. When we see the field as a green ship, green yard, a smart ship, it's not only a national subject. Maybe we don't have an ecosystem big enough in France just to be self-supportive. So we have to be open and to think about more European projects than national projects.
Okay. So we still have 5 minutes left, I believe, and so I'm gonna ask a very, very concrete question to our panelists and to Pierre if he's still around. From now that we know that what everybody funds really, how do we get from there? Like concretely, should I call you, Pierre, if or should the SMEs call you directly, or how do we do? If each of you can answer this question. Is there any specific modalities or protocols we need to do?
Yeah, first, what is interesting for what we listen here is that there is a lot of public and there is a lot of private initiative, and even I would like to add also the philanthropic one. And what is interesting today is that we need to leverage the three sources of funding for different reasons. Mainly, we can see that there is a role played by the public and the philanthropic for as a catalytic development of R&D greenfield money. And after that, we need to coordinate really with some public money also for de-risking. And after that, third level, to go for another level, which is to bring as soon as we can the private investors on the private equity and after on the refinancing. So we need to create this chain of investing, which has to be as smooth as possible. And this is what is interesting here. I do believe that we need more and more to create association. We talk about the Green Deal. I think the Green Deal is a real opportunity to not only to invest money, but also to use public money for de-risking projects and to allow additional investors to come as a leverage. And I think we need to start to think about building up solutions around that. And I would like to talk not about financing product, but to talk more and more about financing solution, integrating the different area. The way to go, having project, contacting people like me or like any of our contacts you have in the bank, and push for not only asking for a loan or for asking for a grant, but let's say, do we have a solution where we can bring and accelerate my process, when we can scale my process, of course, always with due diligence for sure. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Pierre. Chell, maybe one word about how do we do from your side?
I was thinking, I mean, to start off project, people get to know each other. So I think maybe the European arena is maybe a good starting point where you can start getting to know, let the French get to know the Norwegian, vice versa, and so on, and then maybe start off with having joint proposals to Horizon Europe or other financing scheme in the EU, and then if that pulls off, then you get to know each other, and then it's easier to maybe for a French research institution or company to join in Norwegian projects, because for them to be invited into the Norwegian national fundings, they have to know some people and they has to be invited. So I think that's to the collaboration part, you have to start to know each other, and maybe could we have some kind of arrange some kind of events also. That's a possibility.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good job probably for the cluster like us and the cluster like GCEs, just to put all the French and Norwegian partners together. Ingvild, maybe a word.
Yeah, there's how to get, I think I really like Michelle's point. How do we get together to create those, build those bonds of trust so we can continue collaborating on Horizon Europe project? Obviously, now that we can't be together, these webinars, and brokerage events, this meeting, all these digital meeting forums are important, and there are many of them. So I'd like to take this opportunity to talk about another opportunity that's coming up on Friday, which is a French-Norwegian opportunity as well, focused on wind energy. So this is very targeted. So I think if we talk about ocean, ship is one thing, but there's so many more that we need to look at. And energy at the ocean, obviously clearly linked to the shipping industry as well. So for those of you who want to get into opportunities between French, Norwegian players linked to wind, do join my colleagues on Friday.
Field. And Ingrid?
Yes, I certainly agree what has been said here already, and I would like to also point out the opportunity of the EU's ETS Innovation Fund, where Enova can support the consortiums to work with their application, because it's a big job to put together application, find their collaborators. So when you have got to know each other and have this project, you can also look up this ETS Innovation Fund, and maybe we can help you with setting up a good application.
Okay, and Anthony, before I close the round table, maybe a word?
In France, we have many agencies with many contacts, so maybe the simple is to use the facilitators and the cluster we already have. And I think thanks to you, we have the chance to identify the good projects and to help them to be good enough to be financed with our calls, and I think we can continue with this outside France.
Okay, great. So my point is get to know each other. That's the main thing. So we try to. That's what we try to do here today. Just bringing and making this happen. Before closing, I just want to take the opportunity to thank Ludovic and his team, and in particular Elna and Mathilde, who help us to organize this roundtable and this event. We work on it since more than a year, so I have the floor. So I do thank them very much for that, and I hope we can go further. And do not hesitate to contact me or the panelist or Pierre if you want to move forward in your endeavor on the French and Norwegian side.